welcome to the spiritual podcast, and we're back with another episode. Supriya Chechi. So I'm just gonna start the incantation. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kandha Radha Kandha Namostate तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुदेवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवसादि गौरभक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा माधवा कुंजा बिहारी जय राधा माधवा कुंजा बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah, you were saying, right?
Right. So we are resuming with chapter 12, verse 8 or 9. But before that, we're just going to do a very short recap by going back to verse 5. And in verse 5, Krishna is making the point to Arjuna that for those who opt for a impersonal type of worship, to make progress is very difficult because they have had a body for several lifetimes. It's not just the human body, they may have even had, like, meaning in the progression of consciousness across species, the jiva or the soul takes so many bodies. Whatever be the case, the jiva has always had a body. So therefore, to be able to relate to something that doesn't have a body is going to be really very difficult. Therefore, progress is difficult. This is like a crucial key point that Krishna makes in verse 5. Then he goes on to give different options. If you jump and see 6 and 7, the verses that are clubbed together, if we just quickly glance through the translation, it says, those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engage in devotional service, always meditating, always fixing their minds upon me, O son of Pratha. For them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So that is like the topmost. But he's going to give other options because not everybody can be like this. Always focusing their mind on him, steadfast, single-minded. Uttama Bhakti. For them, I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Right. So if you can't do that, then the option that is given. Right. And in verse 8, he is reiterating the same thing. Just fix your mind upon me and engage all your intelligence. The same level of single-minded, highly focused consciousness. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
sorry. This is actually the same point in that ninth chapter, right? The 22nd verse. That the same thing. It's saying, like, if you fix your mind on me,
Right.
meditate on my transcendental form, I
Yes.
carry what you lack and I preserve what you have.
Right,
That's
right. Yeah, that's like a pure bhakti. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, that is, don't have any other thoughts, or don't accommodate any other options. Just completely be single-mindedly devoted to me. Now from verse 9, that is the next verse, he is going to offer other options, other possibilities in decreasing priority. That is, look at this, we'll chant verse 9 together and proceed. 9, 10, 11 and 12 is yes, this ladder. Usually one climbs up a ladder, but in this particular section, it's like we're going to climb down the ladder. If you can't fix your mind on him, then there are other things he's offering. Shall we chant verse 9
Yeah.
like we always do, 3 times, and then with the translation?
Sa
Atha chittam
chittam
samadhat
samadhatum na saknoshi
nashaknosi
mai
mai stiram
stiram abhyasa
abhyasa yogena
abhyasa yoge
tato
tato mam
mam chaptum
tum
dhanan.
dhananjaya. Do it again.
Atha
Ata chittam
chittam
samadhatum
samadhatum
na
nashaknosi
saknoshi
mai
mai stiram
stiram
abhyasa
abhyasa
yogena
yogena
tato
tato
mam
mami
tum
chaptum
dhananjaya.
dhananjaya. Once more. Atha
Atha chittam
chittam
samadhatum
samadhatum
na saknoshi
nashaknosi
mai
mai
stiram
stiram abhyasa
abhyasa yogena
yogena
tato
tato mam
icham tum
ichaptum
dhananjaya.
dhananjaya.
Atha chittam oh, did we do three
We
or
did thrice.
oh
We did
three? Okay.
thrice. So now we just go on with the translation. Can you read the translation?
Yeah. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
Right. So if you can't be at the topmost level, then just follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, meaning follow, it is basically Vaidhi sadhana. Just keep doing your sadhana, keep doing your sadhana. Vaidhi sadhana bhakta. Follow the vidhis, right? And eventually it will produce the fruit offered in the previous verse. In this verse, here we have Prabhupada's purport. In this verse, two different processes of Bhakti Yoga are indicated. The first applies to one who has actually developed an attachment for Krishna, single-mindedly always thinking of him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead by transcendental love. And the other is for one who has not developed an attachment for the Supreme Person by transcendental love. So what is he supposed to do? For the second class, there are different prescribed rules and regulations one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the stage of attachment to Krishna. Bhakti Yoga is basically purification of the senses. Please read from there.
Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified, and in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I may be engaged in some service to some master, but I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money, and the master also is not in love. He takes service from me and pays me, so there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed with the present senses. This love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart, and their love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process.
Okay, I'll read the last para. To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple, offer prayers. Basically, in each of these, you're trying to bring your senses under control by engaging them and connecting them somehow to the Lord. Chant Hare Krishna, collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook food stuff to offer to the deity, take prasadam, so on. There are various rules and regulations that one should follow. And one should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone to rise to the level of God, love of God. and then he's sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of a spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. So here we
Actually,
already have, yeah, please
no,
go
I
ahead.
actually just wanted to make this point. Actually, when I was in like when I was in Bangalore, and I went to that ISKCON center in
Ah, yes.
Koramangala. So it was actually very different compared to the ISKCON center. Obviously, the ISKCON center in the main city, which is
The,
like very commercial and
the hill
like
temple, yeah.
yeah, the big one. This is like it. If I think I shared you the picture also, it's like
Yeah,
somebody's
yeah.
house. On top of the house, there's like it's written there ISKCON Center Kormangla there, and it's like a
Uh-huh.
very small thing. So from the left side, you just have to walk in on top, and then there's like a small like it's like it's maybe it's bigger than a room, like a normal room that you would think, but it's like there's a massive deity of Krishna and Radha inside that, and
Right.
there's so I walked in, there was like three people there. One
Uh-huh.
person was sitting there and um he was like chanting with his beads,
Uh-huh.
and he was just chanting, and the other one girl was sitting there, I think. She was also, I think, just chanting, and then there was another person who was sitting in the extreme there was a mat on the bottom
Uh-huh.
on the floor. So everybody sitting. So I didn't know like. So I remember going all the way there. I had no idea like what I'm supposed to do and all that. So I just like walked in and there was nobody saying anything and all that. I just like walked in. I saw them just sitting there. I just went and sat down there. And then I saw this one person sitting on the like extreme right, and he was just like in reciting the entire Gita in Sanskrit. Like,
Really?
yeah, he was loudly reciting the entire Gita in Sanskrit, and he was just like just recite like in Sanskrit. He was like reciting everything, and then like, I could understand because he was saying things like Sanjaya Uvacha, and then he would
Okay.
like
Yeah, yeah.
he would continue like that and all that stuff. So then I realized I was like, oh wow, this person is like doing the entire the Gita in Sanskrit and like like and and it is like kind of it was like a very different experience because when I sat there, like everybody is like sitting in
Right.
just like the deities in front of you, and you're just like sitting and praying or chanting or doing that, and you can kind of feel like this energy that is
Right,
is
right.
is different from like how
The
you
hill
will feel.
temple.
Yeah, maybe not in the hinter, but just generally if you're doing it on your own also, if you're just sitting on
Oh,
your own
that's
and
what you meant. What you
yeah,
meant, right?
yeah, like if you're just sitting on your own and doing it also, it's very
Yeah.
different from that also. It's like when you're sitting there with, and it's a little weird because like okay, I thought there would be like some type of custom or something that I had to do, or there would be like some type of tradition or something and all that. I didn't, I just went and sat there and I started uh, doing that. And then after some time, I had to leave actually. I had to go somewhere else. So I didn't have much time also. So then I had to. So the person who was chanting next to me, he got up and then he went. So I thought he left, and it was only me, this girl, and this other person who's chanting the Sanskrit
Uh-huh.
uh, Gita thing continuously. So after some time, then I just like looked back, and then I'm like looking, and then it was very different because normally like you would associate, okay, everybody's sitting on their like cross their legs and they're like praying or chanting or doing all that. The girl is like she's like literally like she's sitting on one behind the wall. She's like put her legs up and then she's like putting her head down and she's chanting and all that. I'm like, I didn't know you could do all that. Like
What time of the day did you go?
I went maybe it was like 5:30.
Evening. I see.
Yeah, 5:30.
Uh,
Yeah. So
I
then
think this is a rented space.
yeah, it's a rented space only because the people the top part is where the thing is, but then on the bottom there's like it's like a house only, and I
Right.
think the people who are running that thing on the top are staying there itself.
And the cooking must be taking place on the ground floor.
Yeah,
Kitchen
yeah,
and
yeah,
cooking and bathrooms and everything.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like
yeah.
you said, somebody must be staying there on the ground floor so that at least on Sundays, if they have a program, some
Yeah.
prasadam can be produced. Was it a Sunday when you went? No.
No, 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 it was a Tuesday. I had taken a sick leave that day because I was not. I was kind of not feeling well. But then I was also like, I was in Bangalore also, and I was staying in an Airbnb, so I was a little bored also. So I didn't know what to do.
Right,
So I was like, I'll just go and do this and see how it is.
right.
And so I went there. But then it was interesting also seeing like the different ways in which the other people are also doing, practicing their own thing. It's very different from what you would assume. Like, okay, you're sitting and then you have to be like spine erect and you have to sit and with folded legs and do all that
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. But then when I went, I remember the person who had initially left, he was actually sitting there only in a
Right.
different room. And
Uh-huh.
he had his laptop and he was, I think, studying something with that,
Uh-huh.
with, I think, the verses he must have been studying or something. I'm not sure what it was. But then I had to leave. I couldn't, but I guess I had to leave because I had to go somewhere else at that time. But
There
then,
was
like,
no gift shop or
no, no,
bookshop,
no, 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 nothing. There
and
was
no.
like when you're sitting, there's like on the left side, there's like this massive shelf. Next to the shelf, there's like a lot of books there. So you can like, if you, that's what I was like wondering. Can I take one of these books and just start reading, or should I just like not do that? I don't know what it was
No,
because I also
nobody
didn't want to
talked
ask
to
him.
you. Nobody talked to you.
No, I spoke to that guy who got up before. When I was leaving, I spoke to him before going. I just asked him, like, where is the way to get out, this, that, and all that. But everybody was so, like, busy with their meditation and
Their
all
own.
that. So I didn't want to disturb somebody, like, unnecessarily, and, that. I would have liked to maybe talk, but the other guy was, the other devotee was already chanting all the verses and all that very loudly, so I couldn't. Yeah, I don't want to disturb that person also.
See, I think this is a really small center, and I guess you can't expect people busy with their jobs and their school and college.
Mm.
I don't know when they come. Maybe they come only on a Sunday, and Sundays you will see
Mm.
more people there and a proper formal
Yeah,
program.
I think because the person who is managing that place, her name is Veena or
Oh,
something like that. I'm not sure. I think her name is because I remember before leaving, I found this number on Google, and so
right.
I called, and then she said, "Yeah, you can go there and you can just sit there and spend time there." So when I went there, I reached that place. The gate was already closed, and so I was like, "What is this? Is a little weird because, like, so
She
this
told you.
it looks like somebody's house." So I was like a little
Uh-huh.
bit worried,
Yes.
like if I just walk into somebody's house randomly, and then she said, then I called her again, and she said, "No, you can open it and go inside. This is just so that dogs don't come inside and all that stuff." So then I said,
Right,
"Okay."
right, right.
So then, but yeah, but I think like there are things that are planned. It seems like on the weekends and all that stuff that happen
Yeah.
over there and all that.
Normally, if the deity altar is open and you can see them standing there, you do like what do you call it? Namaskaram on the
Ah,
floor.
yeah.
You pay
Hmm.
obeisances. And normally, what we do in a regular temple, we see the deity and we do like this. In ISKCON, they show the left shoulder to the deity. You know that? Like it's
Oh,
parallel to where the deity is standing. Like if the deities are standing here, you don't do a kind of vertical. You go horizontal and show your left shoulder and do it. I'm not sure why it's like that, but that's how it is in the Vaishnava tradition. You just observe the next time you go to a temple and there are people doing this, paying obeisances, you will get my point.
yeah.
Okay, just keep that in mind. That's all that you're supposed to do. And usually, if there is something that has already been offered to the deity that day and is kept loose there, maybe puri, puffed rice with some sugar balls in it, something that you just take a little bit or someone gives you.
Hmm. There
That's
was
it.
no, there was only three people there.
Nobody there. Nobody
There was
there.
only there
And
was
you
only
take
three
it.
people. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
you just take it and put it in your mouth. If you have even like say 10 rupees or 20 rupees to spare, you put it in the hundi. Because the idea is that you don't go to see the Lord empty handed. It doesn't have to be money. Supposing you had somewhere on the way or right outside this, you found some flower seller selling three flowers. You know how they do in a little donna. Even that you just go and put somewhere on the stage, somebody will offer it. Because it's like trying to make friends with the deity. Because after all, you
Hmm.
got a chance to go there.
Mm.
You don't have flowers or anything, doesn't have to be a huge garland, doesn't have to be a big lot of money. Put anything, 10, 20, something in that hundi. Take some, pay an obeisance, meaning pay the pranam, and then come away and then see how it goes. And if someone is there willing to talk to you, to give you the time, most of these small centers, they lack staff, you know.
Mm.
Unless you get volunteers, they get the person who is there is usually really very overburdened
Mm.
and
But I
busy.
but
Yeah,
I found the smaller setup. It was a little bit more
genuine,
like,
genuine.
yeah, I guess genuine. I don't know, because yeah, at least it wasn't clearly they're not doing it for any type of money or
Commercial.
anything like that. So it's so yeah. So whatever they're doing, it's going to be like very nice and all that stuff. But I found, I don't know why it was a little weird why they put this place in the location where it was put. It was put in like first block in Koramangala,
Right.
which is like kind of, there's like, it's kind of like put in this highway type of road. So
Oh,
in that, it's like kind of, it's like almost, it's put in like the bypass or something. It's kind of like in a bypass. So I was kind of, because next to that there's a lot of like noise, and
right, right.
there's like a building on the side where there's like a lot of people who, a lot of like, there's a lot of youngsters and all that stuff. And I mean, it's full of I don't know, a lot of mode of ignorance activities and all that around that area and all that stuff. So I was
Right,
like,
I understand. Hmm.
yeah, I was like wondering why they put it in this type of location. I mean, they could
I
have
get it. Yeah. I
maybe
don't
put it in
know.
a,
Maybe, yeah. Sometimes it's practical reasons, like say the rent is low, or these people were willing
yeah,
to keep. They just got it and they started. Often these centers keep moving. It's not
okay.
anything permanent. They may go move somewhere else and put an ad. And if it's a person, some leader with lot of vision and planning, then they may deliberately start in a place where, like you're saying, there are youngsters in mode of ignorance,
Mm,
to attract them. Coimbatore temple started like that. They deliberately went and took a small rented space in the heart of a lot of uh, colleges, private colleges, institutions, schools run by one famous name. It's like a charitable trust in Coimbatore. And there was no proper road to this center. I remember going there 23 years ago. We were saying, gosh, this what is like a dust track, main road, and then it is. But see how it developed, because the college people, slowly somebody went, someone who was confused or worried and seeking. Then he went back and told his friends that you don't have to do anything, you don't have to pay any money, just come. They give you laddu or something, and then you can see. Then they got attracted by the classes, the lectures. Now it's a flourishing center. So many young people, technology, they have their career, they have their job, they have their marriage, they marry, then they have children, and they keep coming here. So
mm,
it may be a strategy, otherwise it's just some practical reason, like they got it for low rent, and this is all that's possible now, and they may ship later. Like, but as you see, some of these locations are a little baffling. In Mangalore, it's in a church. It was a
mm,
church that was kind of had closed down. It had stopped having regular, what is it called, congregational get-togethers on Sundays. I'm not sure why it closed down. So it was available as a building and it was given to these people. So we were really kind of baffled when we went. It was early years in ISKCON. But that's how it is. I mean, it's like a proper church with stained glass and everything, and you go in, it says ISKCON, and then I didn't see any sign of any Jesus or Mary or anything there. Maybe they removed those deities, and instead you have this Radha Krishna Jagannath.
mm,
So that's actually allowed. ISKCON, the founder was very open-minded, broad-minded, and willing that you just start somewhere. It's not the traditional concept of looking for the best place. Ideally, that planning should go in when you're making a permanent center. Definitely, it
mm,
should be in a better place, not on a bypass, like you're saying. Absolutely. It should be in a better place. But
mm.
just somewhere you get a foothold and then, you can move after that if it's. Anyway, good you could go there and you picked up these vibes, and as you said, it's very different from the commercial approach of
Yeah,
the
like
place.
actually, I also realized that there are so many centers, ISKCON centers in Bangalore itself.
I see.
The one is the one which I was mentioning, the Rajaji Nagar, which is that big one, the
Yeah, yeah,
commercial
Hill
one.
Temple.
Yeah, and then the one which I went to is like a very small thing in Koramangala and all that. But there are others like in different. I saw like in different place. I went to the Koramangala one. Actually, I was planning. My initial thing was like, okay, I have one day. It was already like kind of became evening. So I was like, okay, should I go to the big one? If I go there, it's gonna be a big. It's gonna be a lot of people, and there's gonna be like a lot
Right,
of
right,
queues and you have to like I remember last time I was lucky because I kind of in their website there was this option where you can message somebody and then that person can help you
oh,
navigate through the temple and all that stuff. There's a thing if you go to the website, there's like that's how I met that one
yeah,
devotee
yeah,
there
yeah.
and I spoke to him and then he was also like trying to tell me like if you want you can join our this organization here and all that in Bangalore and all. So I was like so yeah but anyway so he kind of so yeah like but so I was like but then to do all this it's gonna be it'll take a long time. By the time I come back itself will be like 10 o'clock in the night and all stuff. If I leave it was like 14-15 kilometers from where I was staying in HSR layout, which is like almost 1 hour 10 minutes from my place. So to
Right,
go
right,
there and then come and to go there and then go to the temple also do all that stuff, then come back 1.5 hours. That's gonna be a big pain. That's gonna be a big problem.
right.
Whereas the center here was it's only like I think 1 or 2 kilometers from where I was staying,
Oh,
basically
very nice.
The
Uh,
Koramangala center. So then I was like, this is better. I'll go here. And yeah, so then that's it. But there were other places also, but they were also quite far. They were like 11
right.
kilometers, 12 kilometers, some 10, 9, and all that stuff. So
Yeah,
then
distances in Bangalore are a big thing, but it's good you could go there. If you can go there again next time on a Sunday, you may or call that Beena lady and find out when will there be a class or a program.
I think it's usually on the weekends. That's what I went to
Weekends,
their
right?
web. I went to their website and they
Ah,
have like a Facebook page. The ISKCON
oh,
Korma.
Koromangalam.
So yeah, I went and saw that. So they have various pictures of events and all that they've organized and all that stuff. And but I see like most of like they'll put out like there's an event they'll put out like this poster
Right.
of animated poster of something happening and all that. And it's usually the poster will usually say like a weekend basically there like a either it's like a Friday, Saturday or a Sunday like so one
Right,
of
right,
these
right.
3 days.
Or else
But
if it's a
yeah.
festival coming up, like now the major festivals are over. No, there is Gaura Purnima coming up on March 25th. And then there's Narasimha Jayanti coming up sometime in May. That, if you happen to be free on that day and you pop in or you just check with the website, like you said, that's another time and there'll be little more happening there if that's what you're looking for. But it's good you could find this place. I had heard about it, but I haven't been there. I haven't
Uh,
been to the big temple either in Bangalore. I've
yeah,
been only
you should maybe just once just go and see that actually
real
and see how it's
experience. I've heard,
yeah.
yeah,
It's like I don't know whether you would like it or not, but like it's at least it would be interesting to just go and because for me also I kind of felt like it felt a bit commercial and all that stuff, and then it didn't give that same vibe that I had when I went to the center here and all that. But
right.
I guess I can understand on one level why they wanted something like that commercial because one thing is that if you type anywhere in Google like major
It's
tourist
gone.
attractions, ISKCON, that temple comes up there. So then,
Absolutely.
so in one sense, It is doing something for like get people to notice that
Sure,
uh,
sure.
that aspect of it. So that it's doing that. So yeah, that's
Sure,
there. Like,
it's put ISKCON on the tourist map, and even when you have dignitaries, foreign dignitaries, if
yeah,
they happen to be in Bangalore, there's a meeting in Bangalore, they will
you go
be
to that place.
advised to do a tour of this. So it's very impressive. Then they're doing this food for life, distributing free food. in large numbers, very hygienically and very professionally managed. So all this makes a very good impression. The commercial mood I've heard of from others also. But see, like my relatives on my mother's side, one aunt and uncle. Uncle was in, I don't know which engineering college, I'm not getting it now, but they have their alumni meet, some get together sometimes in this ISKCON temple. They get rooms, they get food there. She was talking about breakfast and herbal coffee and whatnot. They hire rooms there, they book the rooms. I think they have a guest house. So different people use it. Some people have their weddings conducted there. Another aunt who lives with her daughter, she says you can get order like regular Swiggy and other people will go and collect food, prasadam food
Oh,
from your whole meal from this temple. That means they are just so together. They've
mm.
got their act together in modern
Yeah,
language. You know that they
they've
can,
kind of they've understood how to use the
yeah,
modern, like the technology, everything else stuff,
yeah.
but then in that old sense,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's
See,
doing
it's
well. Like
great, great
it's
facility. As my
great.
aunt says, you order through Swiggy and from there it will come. So this is like a great convenience nowadays for people, no, in their busy life. And also, like as I said, the rooms, the guest rooms that they could book.
Mm.
Therefore, you have to give it to them that this, and it's supposed to be all the basic, the ability of that one Malayali guy. What is his name? Madhusudanan Nair, the
I think
tall guy who is
he
slightly lame, but his
uh,
Diksha name, spiritual name is Madhu Pandita Das, his wife and the wife's sister and that sister's husband. This foursome. His wife is not necessarily a Malayali, I'm not sure. He is a Malayali from here, from Trivandrum. So it is supposed to be, he is a graduate from not IIT, but this, what is it? The Trichy Engineering College,
yeah.
as far as if I remember correctly. And therefore he's got all that training and the brains and he put it to use. This was like his karma and he put it to use in this project. So you have to
Mm.
give it to him and you have to really give it to this temple for what they are doing. Okay, the
Yeah.
last paragraph of this purport, verse 9. To practice the regulative principles of bhakti yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early, take bath, enter, etc. There are various rules and regulations, and one should constantly about the, okay, we read this. The practice of bhakti yoga under the rules and regulations, the direction of spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God, or that is the stage that was mentioned in the previous verse. Okay, so one was obviously pure bhakti, and verse, that is verse 8. In verse 9, Krishna is offering, if you can't do it, just do Vaidhi sadhana or just do sadhana bhakti. Just keep mechanically at least following, and eventually something will, transformation or cleansing of the heart will happen. The dormant love that is there will bear fruit. Now next, verse 10. Verse 10 is going to go one step further down. This is a ladder we are climbing in the reverse direction. Okay. So
Abhya
let's try to complete verse 10 also today. Abhyase
Abhyasepi asamartosi
asamartos
matkarma
matkarma
paramo
paramo
bhava
bhava
madartam api
madartam api
karmani
karmani
purvan siddhim
purvasiddhi
avapsyasi.
avapsyasi. Again.
Abhyasepi
Abhyase
asamartosi
abhyasamartosi
matkarma
matkarma
paramo bhava
paramo bhava
madartam api
madartam api
karmani
karmani
purvan siddhim
purvasiddhim
avapsyasi.
avapsyasi. Once more.
Abhyasepi
Abhyase
asamartosi
abhyasamartosi
matkarma
matkarma
paramo
paramo
bhava
bhava
madartam
madartam
api
api
karmani
karmani
purvan siddhim
purvasiddhim
avapsyasi.
avapsyasi. Translation, please read.
If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage.
Okay, let's try and find out what is meant by just work for me. One who is not even able to practice the not able even to practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga under the guidance of a spiritual master can still be drawn to this perfectional stage by working for the Supreme Lord. How to do this work has already been explained in the 55th verse of the 11th chapter. Okay. Let's just go back to the 55th verse of the 11th chapter and see what's said here. Right. So some general guidelines are given here in the 55th verse. See this, just read the translation, my dear Arjuna.
Just one second.
11th chapter, 55th
Yeah.
verse. Yeah.
My
Got
dear
it.
Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me.
Okay, so he works for me really means that basically you try and give up the fruits of your work. You are not doing it for yourself. You gradually try to get detached from the fruits of your work. And Prabhupada here gives an example that you may be rich, you can make a big building, and then you may have made a big building, but after a while, if you can somehow engage it in the service of the Lord, you see, this might even mean indirectly and small steps, like whoever has rented this house out to the Koramangala place. Initially, they may take rent. After a while, they may help out if the devotees are having trouble paying rent certain months, or they may halve the rent. This is a way that the whichever house that person built has been rented out for the service of the Lord. You see, this is what is meant by working for the Lord, work for Krishna. So this is what 11.55 is saying, and the same point is picked up now by verse 10. If you cannot practice this Vaidhi sadhana, then just try to work for me, because by working for me. Right, so 11th chapter. Carry on reading. One should be sympathetic.
One second.
After 55th verse of the 11th chapter, that is the purport to verse 10
Yeah.
in chapter 12. Yeah.
Oh, purport is it? Okay, one second. So that is 12 chapter 10,
Yeah,
10th
12th
verse.
chapter. Here, you're almost there, where it stops with 11.
Oh, this one. Okay. Uh,
One should be, yeah.
one should be sympathetic to the propagation of Krishna consciousness.
See,
There
that's
are
exactly what I meant. Like your Koramangala setup, we said it's rented space. Knowingly or unknowingly, obviously the owner agreed to give it to the devotees. May even have been unknowingly. He's getting some rent. He doesn't care what's happening there. Gradually, by virtue of his having indirectly tied up with this propagation of Krishna consciousness, he starts getting the benefits, the
hmm,
pious credit or whatever for it, and unknowingly he may get more interested, want to help out little more, want to inquire. All kinds of arrangements Krishna makes for each jiva to basically get started on this path. Carry on.
there are many devotees who are engaged in the propagation of Krishna consciousness, and they require help. So, even if one cannot directly practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, he can try to help such work. Every endeavor requires land, capital, organization, and labor. Just as in business, one requires a place to stay, some capital to use, some labor, and some organization to expand. So, the same is required in the service of Krishna. The only difference is that in materialism, one works for sense gratification. The same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, and that is spiritual activity. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or temple for propagating Krishna consciousness, or he can help with publications. There are various fields of activity, and one should be interested in such activities. If one cannot sacrifice the results of his activity, the same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state of love for God, whereupon one becomes perfect.
Actually, we have like a living example of such a case. Around the time I joined, there was this individual, I think he was a Tamil non-Brahmin. I don't think he was Malayali, but in Parashala, which is some distance from Trivandrum, driving distance. So he'd made a certain amount of money in the Gulf. He had a son and a daughter who were already settled, and one daughter who was in Edinburgh. She'd won a scholarship and she was studying some science subject in. So he decided to buy a plot of land and fund the setting up of a small center with Jagannath Baladev. So we were taken aback. We'd never heard of anything. We've heard of official ISKCON and the saffron-clad brahmacharis appointed and struggling. There comes this guy who is. So that started. Then he started to fund. So the Trivandrum ISKCON was approached naturally for help, and we made friends. The people here made friends with them. Years passed. Every year he would somehow get funds from his supporters, employees, and so on in the Gulf to do a Rath Yatra every year. Then, as he started to grow ill, he wrote a will and willing that property to be managed by ISKCON Trivandrum. Okay, so then he passed away, and ISKCON Trivandrum became in charge of that property. And then his daughter had to hastily, she'd finished Edinburgh and she was working in Bangalore. She moved here and started to run the place with her elderly mother. And a brahmachari was imported from Mayapur to act as pujari and cook. Because she could just oversee finances and accounts, but she couldn't actually literally do things there. And Trivandrum ISKCON kept giving kind of spending special people to. Eventually, it just turned out to be a flourishing center. She then decided, what's her name? Binny, I forget her surname. She flourishing center. At some stage, they decided, like you said, it was too close to the Parashala Highway Road, NH 47 or something. Long back, 20 years ago, it was not a big deal because hardly anybody was going on that road. Though now it's such a racket. So they decided to move the temple away from the road and more into their property, more. So they redid the temple, small temple hall. They pushed everything back, made a very sweet, small, compact, neat, clean setup, and relocated the Jagannath Baladev Krishna deities at the big temple opening. It's just great the way these things unfold. And her mother was getting worried that a marriage is not happening. She was already 35, 37, overqualified, Edinburgh and stuff. Recently, she married a Malayali devotee guy from, basically, he grew up in Dubai. His parents are settled here, and he is a kirtanier. He's got some qualification, but he's a highly successful shout guy. He is a highly successful kirtan singer, so he keeps doing this kirtan circuit, you know. So as far as her mother is concerned, the matters have been settled, and now the future we have to see. So she doesn't stay here. The temple is now fully being overseen by the Trivandrum ISKCON Center, and she can get on with her life. So all because her father so many years ago had this idea, and I'm sure his relatives protested and said, what are you doing? You know, your money, even if you have enough, you can always leave it for your the next generation. You have grandchildren from the already two married, the son and the daughter. But see how far it's gone. How many people have come through the Parashala Center? How many people get to see that annual Rath Yatra? Whatever the contribution he made, now it's being carried forward. So it's really in whatever way, as he says here, you can give your land, capital, organization, same work, however, can be performed for the satisfaction of Krishna, that is spiritual activity. Like that, then that gentleman here, I forget his name now, he was Nagarajan or something, he got initiated. He took up the process very seriously. His daughter got initiated by Jananand Goswami, who used to go to Scotland. He's a relatively later sannyasi with a very small group of followers. She got inspired by him and she took Diksha from him. He came here, I think, to give her Diksha, And then she went on and married another initiated devotee, and they've got on with their life. So lots of things happen exactly the way the purports are written. Okay. So we'll stop with verse 10 and start with verse 11 tomorrow because it's almost 6 o'clock. It's just 4 minutes to 6. Yeah? Okay. Is that okay? So next Saturday, it's again like this. You will be off Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, I'll be off. I'll just end the recording.